Hello, my name is Paulina, and I am the curator of the exhibition Szancer Imagine That, which will be open at the Galicia Jewish Museum on the 1st of July this year. This exhibition is addressed mainly to children, and it's based on a biography of one of the greatest Polish illustrator, Jan Marcin Szancer, who was born in Krakow in Polish Jewish family. And now I'd like to invite you to listen to the short interview with Elizabeth Szancer. Can you tell me, Elizabeth, something about this pretty painting created by Jan Marcin Szancer, which is hanging behind you?
Yes, yes. Well, I had an opportunity it's the only artwork that I have by him, original artwork.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity to get it a few years ago. And I was very, very excited. I really like the image. I think it's extremely expressive and playful, and it shows his imagination. So that's why I keep the artwork. You know, I was going to send it possibly for the exhibition, but it's not there. So I put it right here where I can see it, where I'm working every day during this time of COVID. So I have it here to look at every day.
Yeah. Do you remember your first encounter with Szancer's art?
Yes, I was a very, very young child, and so I received books from him, directly from him. And I can't remember, because I was very, very young, if he brought the books, but maybe it was unlikely that he could travel then to the US, or somebody else brought the books, because one of them was inscribed from somebody to me. So it's possible that somebody else brought the books. But he sent me 4 or 5 of his books, and I was very, very excited to have them. And of course, my father told me all about Jan Marcin Szancer and about his illustrations and very much about his life. So these books have, until this day, become part of my library. Yeah, so it was very exciting for me. I thought also what was interesting, that in those books, one of them was in French and one of them was in German, because there were some translations, and the rest was in Polish. And of course, one of them was Lokomotiva.
Okay, very interesting story. Yeah, yeah. Szancer's art shaped the imagination and artistic taste of several generations of Poles, and even not all Poles know his name, must remember his pictures and have books illustrated by him in their home libraries. But I'd like to ask you, is Szancer's art known outside of Poland?
Frankly, I don't think so. I don't know what impact the books, for example, that were translated into German or French, how many were sold and how widely they were read in other countries. That I don't know. I know that we had no books that were translated into English here, and he was, even though children also in the US grow up with certain illustrators, sort of like Dr. Seuss, for example, Maurice Sendak. Jan Marcin Szancer was not amongst them, and you don't readily find his books in bookshops. I have now quite a library of his books that I've collected over many, many years, but not because I found them here.
Okay, so maybe this is a goal to us and to this exhibition, to make not only his illustrations, but his own name more popular also outside of Poland. I believe it.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, it would be wonderful if we could find a way to bring the exhibition outside of Poland. And if not, certainly maybe his books, and just, I think now in the digital age, in the age of social media, we can make things more accessible and more known.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful today, and it would be wonderful.
Yeah. So Szancer wrote concerning Krakow that these thoughts would always keep returning to the city of youth, the city of emotions and adventures, as well as importantly of an awakening that he experienced here. You also returned to Tarnów and to Krakow, to the places linked to your family history, places your parents talked about. And I'd like to ask you, what does this exhibition mean directly for you, and an exhibition created in Krakow, in his hometown?
For me, it means very, very much. As you said, I have been traveling to Poland, and specifically to Krakow and Tarnów, for many, many years. I started to come in the 70s with my mother. My mother was born in Krakow, so both of my parents studied in Krakow, the Jagiellonian University, and were married just before the war in Krakow. So the city has great meaning for me and for my past. And my mother also referenced Krakow as always. She would say not Krakow, but she would say my beloved Krakow. Okay. So she became a US citizen after the war. But for her and for my father, their ties to this region were very, very strong because of their families that had been here for really, some centuries. Yeah. So for me, the fact that the Jan Marcin Szancer exhibition is going to be about him, about the family, and about and to take place in Krakow means very, very much to me. I am very emotional about it and very excited.
I think that it's worth mentioning as well that Szancer's origin also has a meaning to us as a Krakow Jewish Museum, because we wanted to we want to draw attention of everybody on Szancer's origin, because he was born in Krakow in Polish Jewish family, which is not commonly known. So what is also important, that this exhibition doesn't say a lot about his roots, because Szancer mentions only twice about his Jewishness in his 2 volumes autobiography, but rather it asks a lot of questions. For example, why he wasn't focused on his origin. Does it matter that his autobiography was published 1 year after anti-Semitic protests in Poland in 1968, or it didn't matter for him at all? What did he feel during the Second World War when he was informed about his Jewish friends' fate, when he worked designing posters and leaflets for Polish army? What did he feel at this time? What did he feel looking at Warsaw Ghetto at the front of his temporary flat in Warsaw? So all of these questions are still unanswered and open, and we'd like to talk about it and to ask about it. What is also important, while thinking Szancer, I mean many Polish Jews or Poles of Jewish origin who brought a lot into Polish art and culture. And in this sense, Szancer represents such poets as Brzechwa and Tuwim, and their works are commonly known, but not many people are aware that they had Jewish roots as well. So, speaking of Szancer, we'd like to talk about Polish heritage created in Poland by Polish Jews as well. So this very limited biography of one person can be a good possibility to talk a bit wider about many other important things and topics.
Yes, I agree. For me personally, this subject is of great interest because I grew up with that kind of, for me, I would call it, personally for me, a conflicted identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because many of the Szancer family members denied even their Jewish heritage for many reasons, maybe even for survival. And many even converted to Catholicism. Very close relatives did. My father, I believe, was conflicted too. He at times would deny the Jewish background in ways of trying to compartmentalize it. And he would go back to it in his writings, where he would historically write about important Jewish figures. And I think it was just difficult. They were extremely assimilated. It was a very, very assimilated family that somehow survived amongst, the Christian Poles as best they could. Of course, I did not find out until recently in Tarnów how many family members actually perished in the Holocaust. It was not spoken about. Mm-hmm. Because my immediate family survived also.
Okay.
So this subject is of great interest to me, and I think it's a very broad topic that definitely deserves further discussion.
Yeah, I have one more question to you, because it's worth mentioning you have been dealing with art for many years as a professional, being a curator of superb collections, cooperating with various museums and galleries. And I'd like to ask you, in your opinion, is there a place for analog exhibitions like the one created by the Galicia Jewish Museum in the world of digital content collections, interactive devices, projectors, and all these virtual reality?
In my opinion, there still is a place for that. I think that to understand art and artists and understand the materials they use and how these works are created, I think if we eliminate all that, even the digital content will be affected mm-hmm. in a negative way. I think that they can go hand in hand, because I think we need a lot of that. And certainly now, when we can't communicate, like, I'm very, very grateful that there will be a virtual tour of the exhibition, because I cannot be there as I wanted to. But I think that there still is a place for analog exhibitions and for the appreciation of seeing art firsthand mm-hmm. and experiencing it, standing with the art, looking at it. I think we will miss that if we eliminate it completely. Mm-hmm. And for children's imaginations to develop.
Yeah. And that's why this exhibition is so atypical, because this is a full analog exhibition. We don't have there any iPads or screens, So at this exhibition, we learn who is Szancer, and Szancer teaches us what is the imagination. So children do a lot of creative exercises, stretch their imagination with Szancer, listening to the fairy tale written on the basis of Szancer's biography. And I'd like to tell you that it turned out you're a great narrator. I am really impressed with the way in you record this narrative. It is really, really impressive.
Well, thank you. I was honored to be asked. I never thought of myself that way. I read a lot of fairy tale books and books to my grandchildren. Okay. So maybe it comes from that experience.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it worked out.
So you practice a lot before you start to to record this
A
narrative.
little bit. Yeah, with that. But even this, I didn't read it too much. I just decided to go and read it naturally. So I was happy to do it. It was fun for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for agreeing to be interviewed, Elizabeth. I hope we will meet very, very soon at the Galicia Jewish Museum on the spot. So we can't wait to meet you there. And yeah, thank you so much.